Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We'll get started right away. My name is Jen Garcia. I am the CEO and founder of Employ California, a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has quite a few different offerings now, and I'll share about that in a minute. Let me share my screen here and we'll get started. All right. Okay, you can see this now. Now, I'm really excited about sharing ChatGPT with you. It has completely influenced my life in so many different ways, and I know it will for you as well. So I'm really excited about having the opportunity to show you how it works and walk you through some additional considerations to think through when using it. Every week, I give a free Discover ChatGPT workshop, and I will focus on various aspects that concern the AI community and our community at large. Today, I will be focusing on AI ethics. Now, this is what we'll be covering in the agenda today. I'll be talking about the newest branch of Employ California and covering some of the other ones we do. I'll give you a little bit of info about my AI journey to hopefully inspire you and show you different ways that you can learn more about AI. And then we'll talk about some AI ethics, and I'm going to show you some demonstrations as well. All right. So this is Employ California in a nutshell. We have three branches. The first branch is employment exam preparation. When I was considering founding this nonprofit, I was alerted by my dad that there were issues in promotion for county employees. When I did more research and development into this area, I realized that it wasn't just county employees that have this issue, it's city employees and other local governments like California, state of California and other national local governments. Because of the influx of applicants applying for these jobs, there must be some type of a gatekeeper, and many county employees, many county institutions and city institutions will employ these exams to try to filter through qualified candidates. These exams are quite difficult, especially if you've been out of the exam game for a while. Many people have not been taking exams and having those skills sharpened for 5, 10, 15 years if they've been out of school for quite a while. So we help them with preparing for these exams. I show them how to solve the problems and give them strategies and time-efficient tips. After hearing from participants the first year, we served about 500 participants the first year on a $0 marketing budget. And I queried them, what else can we do for you? What else can we create? From that, we created the soft skills branch, which covers everything from interviewing to conflict resolution, leadership development, and workshops like those. Asked for more info. What more do you need? They want writing skills, and that fit perfectly with my expertise as a former English professor. So I developed some writing courses, and we are going to be releasing some on-demand ones very, very soon. When I started using ChatGPT, that's when I realized that we need to make sure that everyone has a chance to utilize this wonderful tool. And so I developed the third branch, which is AI Literacy Advocacy Branch. Now, the main reason why I decided to go this route and offer resources and links to resources on our website to free and low-cost tools is because of something that Sam Altman said at a conference I went to. He said, artificial intelligence will be the great equalizer. And it truly has been that indeed for me and for many other entrepreneurs and startup founders that I've been working with. Some people do not have the mentor or the expertise that they need to follow certain dreams and goals that they have. Most of us don't have we don't have the access to these mentors and experts, but now we do, because ChatGPT is like an expert mentor in all areas of existence, really, because it's been trained on the entire internet. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Here's a little bit about my AI journey. ChatGPT was released as a commercial tool in November 2022. Before that, it had been the nonprofit OpenAI was established in 2020, and they had generative pre-trained transformer models, GPT models, that they released into the wild for people to play around with. But most of these people were software developers, and they would play with it in various hubs. They decided to release it for commercial use in 2022 November. I discovered it in January, a couple months later, and that first day that I discovered it, I was overwhelmed with not only the possibilities and how exciting it was, but also the concern for our underrepresented communities who are already impacted by a digital divide. And so that's when I decided I need to learn as much as I can so that I could share what I've learned with my community. So far, I've gotten 9 certifications, and I'm working, there's 2 in progress. One is one that's focusing on Microsoft Azure OpenAI, which I hope to implement in small businesses and low-income communities, and do some research in that area as to the impact. Here's some pictures of me with Sam Altman, who is the co-founder of OpenAI. You may have read about him in the news recently. He got fired and then rehired from his own company. And it was quite a quick turnaround. I think it was a weekend. He was fired on a Friday and he was brought back on a Sunday. Here, this gentleman is Mustafa Suleyman. He is the creator of DeepMind that was acquired by Google and is the entire force behind Google's new generative AI tool called Gemini. Gemini is very similar to ChatGPT, but it was trained in a different way on multimodals. And we'll talk a little bit about that if there's time. And here's a picture of me at OpenAI's Dev Day. That was a transformative experience for me, very inspiring. At the end of the year, you can use this Capwing ChatGPT Wrapped, and this is my year of ChatGPT, 150 hours. My longest conversation was 2/3 of a year, practically. And I've been using, as you can see, ChatGPT quite a lot, and I'm very thankful as well. I've thanked it 12 times more than the average user, so I will be spared in the uprising. All right, so let's get into it. Now, you may have heard about prompt engineering, and this is basically a summary of what prompt engineering is. It involves carefully constructing prompts in a way that the large language model, in this case, ChatGPT, created by OpenAI, can understand. Now, these large language models are built kind of like brains in a way. They have neural networks that are in layers, that are constructed in layers. Now, what we want to do is we want to access as many layers as possible in order to get the most out of our output. So our input is a prompt, type that in, and the output is what ChatGPT generates from its large language model training. Now, there are notice here, this is just one of the many cheat sheets that are available online. I will be adding these to the free course that I'm developing with all of these resources together. As you can see, this one's from LinkedIn, and there's different roles that you could have ChatGPT perform. There's inputs and steps and expectations, and I'll talk more about that right now. Now, when you are, there's different prompt engineering types, and I'm going to show you each kind as we move through this workshop. So this first one is called zero-shot learning or zero-shot prompting. Now, the reason why learning these different terms is important is because you will invariably be prompting large language models yourself in the very near future, whether it be for work or hopefully you're inspired to do so right after we're done with this workshop. And so it's important to know some of the key terms like zero-shot learning. Zero-shot learning is when you ask a question straight away, almost as if you are asking Google for a search. In this type of prompting, you are not giving any context. You're just asking a question because it's a low risk, quick answer that you're looking for. And so let me demonstrate what this looks like right now. So stop share, and I'm going to share my ChatGPT screen with you. Now, each workshop, I cover a different area of different prompts. And so these are all new prompts that I got ready for you. Now, before we do the zero shot, I want to show you a few things about this interface that we see here. Notice we have a friendly little question from ChatGPT. How can I help you today? And here are some conversation starters that you can choose. And we'll choose one of those in a minute. Here at the top, you see ChatGPT 3.5 and a drop-down menu. Because I'm a subscriber to ChatGPT for $20 a month, I'm able to access GPT-4 with Dolly browsing and analysis. There is a limit to the amount of time I can use it, but there's a lot more tools and plugins that I have access to because I pay $20 a month. I would easily pay 10 times that because of the value that this tool gives me, but don't tell OpenAI that. Now, as you can see, here you'll see some of my personal GPTs. These are generative pre-trained transformer models that I created with the help of ChatGPT. I'm not going to cover what these are today, but I will do a workshop on how to create these and what they are. Now, here you can see that I also have all of my saved chats in different threads. Now, what is recommended is you always create new threads for different chat topics. The reason for that is because ChatGPT is able to go back into its history and, in the history of that thread and use the conversation as context, okay? So before I show you the zero-shot prompt, let's just choose one of these for fun. Help me pick an outfit that will look good on camera, explain this code. How about this one? Give me some ideas about how to plan my New Year's resolutions. So we click on that, and here it added more information. Give me some that are personal friendly and professionally oriented. Now, what you see ChatGPT doing right now is it is generating new novel information. Now, if we click that same conversation starter again, it would create something very similar, but it would be in different words. It never generates the exact same output every time. So keep that in mind as you are creating. And notice that this new thread has been named and saved in my side saved chats. Here, if I want, I could share this with someone else, and what they'll see is just the text file. They won't be able to use my ChatGPT, unfortunately. I could rename it, and when I'm using things as examples, I'll put example, and I could rename it whatever I want. I could also archive the chat if I no longer want to see it there on the side, or I can delete the chat altogether. Now, notice it's told us some personal resolutions that we could use, health and wellness, and some family resolutions we could utilize. And then here's some professional advice for us. So let's go back. I'm gonna, because I don't want to use the same thread, I'm going to click here to refresh the page, and I will put in my first zero-shot example. So this is a zero-shot learning prompt, and I'm just asking if it could explain how Aurora Borealis works. Now, this is Look how wonderful. It's telling us exactly how it works. It's a stunning, amazing. I'm always amazed. Every time I use it, it never fails. I'm always amazed at this wonderful tool. So it tells us about solar wind, the magnetic field, solar particles, collision, all this stuff. Well, now this looks pretty dense. What we can do is we could tell it, explain like I am a certain age. And so let's say I want to explain it like I'm 5, okay? I can say explain like I'm 12, explain like I'm a high schooler, whatever. A lot of people will use this type of prompt to get a more digestible explanation uh, of certain examples, certain descriptions. So here it says, imagine you have a big invisible magnet around you, like a giant hula hoop that goes all the way up to the sky. So here it gives us that example in as we are 5. So that's nice if we want to explain to our kids, or it helps us know for ourselves. Now, what's amazing is that ChatGPT knows most languages, most common languages. And with Spanish, it has about a 90, I want to say it's probably higher than 95 now, but it is a 95% exact translation rate, which is amazing. So here, and before sure, now it's claro, imagina tú que tienes un imagen. Okay, so I'm not going to use my horrible Spanish with you, but we could tell it to use to explain in any language we want. And so here's an explanation in Mandarin. And I used to study Mandarin for 2 years in college. I don't remember it now. I wouldn't be able to read that to you, but notice that we could have it explained to us in so many different languages. And it's very cool. You can also tell it now in English, oops, it doesn't matter if I have the caps wrong because it still understands, but I'll fix it for demonstration purposes. Now in English, make it into a poem. That's kind of backwards, I should say. Make it into a poem in English. But here's our poem of the Northern Lights. In a world where magic meets the sky so high, a tale of northern lights I'll now imply. Imagine, child, a hidden magnet's grace, a hula hoop, a shield in cosmic space. Oh my goodness. Amazing, hey? All right, so this is ChatGPT 3.5. I'm going to show you some other cool examples of this here. Now, the next one I want to go over, the next type of prompt engineering type is the chain of thought prompting, or it's kind of also called iterative prompting. And so I'm going to go to a new chat because I don't want it to remember that context as I'm asking about blue zone diet. So notice for this one, I'm going to be asking follow-up questions. So this is not quite chain of thought, but it's a follow-up or iterative type prompting. And so here I asked it for the benefits of a blue zone diet. On Netflix, there's this really great documentary about how if you live on a blue zone diet, you will be able to live longer and healthier. So here's an explanation of what the blue zone diet is. Very cool. And now I'm going to ask it a follow-up question. And notice, before I do, let me show you a couple of things from the PowerPoint. So let's go back there. All right. So here, I want to show you some very important phrases that you can use to get the most out of your prompts. And so, for example, I'll explain why each of these quotes phrases are very important. This first one is, let's figure this out step by step. What that does is that gives the LLM time to think. So if you notice here, these two pictures are a blow up of OpenAI's advice to us on how to better prompt and have better outputs from using their tool. And so notice number 4, it says one of the strategies is give the model time to think. And so here's some different examples uh, you could give to show it these different time to think. Let's figure this out step by step is a really great time way for it to also think step by step and break it into chain of thought type of prompting. Chain of thought prompting is when you have a sequence of logical steps leading to your desired answer. Um, and notice it says that it encourages the AI to follow a clear line of reasoning, often resulting in more detailed and accurate responses. And that's because this LLM has layers that it's going through to think. And so it accesses more of those neural network layers to arrive to an answer. Just like if someone said, let's brainstorm ideas, then let's create an outline, then let's do a draft, then let's finalize the draft. In those same steps for us, that's what this does for, it's similar to what let's figure this out step by step, chain of prompting type style does for the LLM. Another really key phrase is explain your reasoning for each suggestion or answer. And now I'll show you how this looks when you're asking for some advice. And what this does is this helps with the transparency or explainability of how the generative AI tool arrived to its answer. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about why that's important. Another key phrase to ask is, ask me clarifying questions to understand my purpose better. Now, what this does for the LLM, for the large language model, is this gives it a chance to ask questions to understand what we want, but also the questions that it asks are so amazing and on point that they help us consider exactly what we want, and it helps us refine the prompt. And so what I'd like you to do when you are prompting is not just focus on the task that it is teaching, that it is supplying you with, but also allow these clarifying questions that it asks you to teach you how to think differently. Because although this is a tool that's all-knowing, almost, and helps us, it's not all-knowing, but this tool that knows a lot, and is helping us arrive at certain projects, complete certain projects, it also is helping us critically think on a different level. So imagine it not just as your assistant, but also as your thought partner or your thought mentor. I've been treating it like that, and it has taught me how to consider strategies and critical thinking steps in a whole different way. And that's what I wanted to do for you as well. So as you are asking it this question, then you'll see what it can do. And I'll give you an example now. And then this last one is, please summarize my request so I know that you understand. And I'll show you some examples of this type of what this creates for us right now. So let me share my screen again. Let's go back to our demo of ChatGPT. All right, it's loading and good, you can see it. So here, notice that we're back at our blue zone. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it, I'm going to follow some of those phrases that I just taught you now. So you'll see in this prompt, and we paste it here. Now, when I'm typing this in order to not press enter and feed it before I'm ready, I press Shift Enter to create spaces. Now, these spaces are really just for my benefit. It usually can understand without the spaces. You don't even need those. And so now I said, considering these benefits above, the ones that it just showed us here, let's work out a plan step by step. Number one, can you recommend a 3-day? It doesn't matter if you put one, but I do that for myself to understand my order. And I said, can you recommend a 3-day plan? Follow these guidelines. And then here are my guidelines. Avoid bell peppers, include the recipes with with all steps. I'll just type that in here. I didn't copy it correctly with all steps. And then my last one, Shift Enter, is create a shopping list. And now I am actually going to use this for my lunch today for my fiance and I. So certainly here's a 3-day plan for a couple aiming to eat healthier. So here we go. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Wow. And then we got day 2. This sounds delicious. I'm getting hungry. My mouth's watering already. Ooh, spinach and chickpea salad, one of my favorites. And here's our shopping list. Now, what I don't see is, I don't see the how-to. Here's the ingredients. Now I can say, please include, I thought I said step-by-step. I did, but it didn't read it correctly. So sometimes the LLM will not do what you've asked, especially with 3.5, because this model is trained on lesser parameters or lesser information than the 4.0 model. And I'll show you the 4.0 model, which is the paid version right now. So here I'll say, please include recipe directions for each meal. And now you could, if you forget to ask something, you could just ask it after the fact. No big deal. And then here are the step-by-step for each one. Amazing, hey? Amazing. And so let's move on to the next one. So let me show you one about Python. So ChatGPT 3.5 can help with code. So if you are learning code, or if you know anybody who is learning code, they've probably already used it for this purpose. Now, here, I'm going to ask it to, I'm going to tell it that I'm learning Python, which is true. I'm learning Python for the first time. I want to learn it. So here I told it my purpose. I want to learn it to understand how to build LLMs and for personal and business uses. And I also wanted to use it to promote AI literacy. And then I said, this is the task. So here is the role. This is what you are. And this role gives the LLM, gives ChatGPT context as to what it is trying to do, what it is acting like. You can say, act like you are an expert Python instructor. It doesn't matter. Here, I told it what I am, and then my task, my purpose, and then, and also purpose number 2. And then notice this is its task. And I use that phrase, let's figure this out step by step. This is what I want it to include. And before you start, ask me clarifying questions. And this, again, helps me to better prompt, and it helps me to understand how to think differently in the future and prompt differently in the future. And then summarize this request, and then we'll get started. That's key, because when it summarizes, if I notice, ooh, it actually missed something that I really want to include, then, oh, look, it went for it without stopping. And so I did say, summarize this request, and then we'll get started. And I'll show you something in a minute. Here's my clarifying questions, but it did the summarizing plan without doing that. So here I'm going to revise my prompt, which you can do. Press that little a pencil icon, and then you can say, summarize this request. And what I should have said is, once I approve of the summary of your summary, then we will get started. There we go. Let's see if it does something different. So what it's going to do is erase what it just created for us, and it is redoing it. And now notice I did not give the correct instructions to begin with. That was user error. So here's the summary. This is what you want. Okay. I can actually say, you know what? Make the summary in bullet point form, in bullet points. All right. And here it's this. Now, when you do that, you're telling it, the format you want it. Now I could, later on, I'll show you tables. It does tables really well. And it also does graphs too. So here's my bullet points. This is what you're doing. Here's my clarifying questions. Now, with the clarifying questions, I like to just copy paste them and then I'll answer them, or I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. For this one, I'll put none. You're familiar with the beginning. Actually, I'm kind of intermediate at this point. Intermediate. And then specific projects, none. And then weekly time commitment. I can give about 7 hours a week. So that's, now it's going to create, oops, I don't have a space there, but it's fine because it usually can run over or can understand typos like that. So here's week 1 through 2, and it's telling me all the things to do step by step. Isn't that cool? Week 10, promoting literacy, and this is ways that I could, this is something I could do. Now, here, because I changed the first prompt, it's asking me, is this one helpful? And I'm going to give it a thumbs up to help train the model, because that it's learning from my conversations. Now, I could tell it not to learn from my conversations by clicking over here in my account, going to settings and beta, and then notice here's the theme, archive chats, here's beta features. I want to use the plugins. I won't have time to talk about plugins in this course, but I will do a workshop on that. And then notice chat history and training. Save new chats on this browser to your history and allow them to be used to improve the models. Unsaved chats will be deleted from the system. And so here, I'm toggling that it remembers the chat history so that not only I can save my conversations, but also because I personally do want it to learn from my conversations. All right, so let's move on to the using ChatGPT 4. So isn't this cool? Amazing, hey? Here, I'll just for fun, I'll say, can you give me an example beginner Python code for a website page? Now, this is something I haven't tried before, but now it's telling me to install Flask, and here's the page, and it's giving me step-by-step what to do. Amazing, hey? It's a very basic example, but it demonstrates how you can use it for Python and Flask. Very cool. All right, so let's move on to 4.0. And the reason I love 4.0 and the reason I pay for it is because of using DALL-E, using browsing the internet, data analysis that it employs, and so on. So here, notice in these GPTs, these are 2 tools that are available when using ChatGPT 4. So here's DALL-E and here's data analysis. We'll use both of these. And I'll start with the fun one. Let's start with DALL-E here. So I'm clicking on that, and now it went to that DALL-E. It went to DALL-E to create my prompt. So here's my prompt that's already typed out. Let me cut and paste it for you. Now imagine that I need to create a gift for my nephew for Christmas, even though that's past. Let's click here. Maybe his birthday. His birthday's coming up in March. So here, I'm telling it its role. You are an award-winning children's book writer. This is the task, write a bedtime story for my 1-year-old nephew. Let's work this out step by step. Remember, we want to include that in our example here, in our prompts. And then here, first, I want to tell you about my nephew. Then I want you to write a short story. Then create a picture in the style of Pixar for every page of the story. So let's just make 3 pages so it's easier to see in this demonstration. And then I gave it examples of who we are. So I'm 40 years old, long straight black hair, light brown skin. I'm going to put and brown skin, not light brown, because I want it to emphasize the brown. And he is a little 1-year-old baby. So here, let me know you understand, then we will begin. So notice I did it correctly in this prompt. First, let's do that, then we'll do this. And so here it's telling me the summary of what I want it to do. If I wanted it to be in bullet point form, again, I could have asked it, please summarize in bullet point form. And honestly, I should be doing that all the time because it's just so much easier to read. Now here's, please tell me more about your nephew. And so here's more about my nephew. And then it's going to begin. And so here's the 3-part bedtime story. And then it's saying, after the story, I'll create 3 Pixar style images. And so here's page 1. Auntie Jen and her cheerful nephew began their day under the bright blue sky. Now, whenever ChatGPT creates anything for me, I always have to review the work and add my own voice, add my own tone, change some details. And for this one, maybe not, but for other high stakes projects, I always make sure that I'm editing. You never, ever allow it to create and then just cut and paste. There's a danger in that. And I'll tell you one danger while this loads here. I'll tell you an example story. A lawyer, I want to say last year, must have been last year. This year. He used ChatGPT to create a briefing that he submitted to a court. That judge read the briefing and noticed that the LLM, ChatGPT, had hallucinated. Hallucination is when the large language model creates not true info, it generates things that aren't true and acts as if it is. And so what it did is it pointed out to three fictional cases with 3 real judges. And these real judges were implicated in this output. And that judge decided, you know what? He or she was so upset about what that lawyer had done that they caused the lawyer, they told the lawyer they imposed a $5,000 fine on him. And they also made that lawyer write apology letters to all those 3 judges. And that lawyer was a laughingstock. He could have been disbarred, but he wasn't. And so here's our images. So notice this first is, we're in the garden and flowers and butterflies. And look, we're in the garden, flowers and butterflies. Isn't that amazing? Did okay with my skin. I like it. And notice I had told it that my nephew has mohawk-like hair. And so here's the next one. Here's us on tummy time. And here's his teeth coming in. What a sweetie. Now I could download these and you know, and put them into an actual book. And here's us reading at night. Oh, isn't this beautiful? I love it. And I guess we're reading about dragons and fairies. Very cool. All right, so let me show you some other uses. Now that's DALL-E. You can imagine why the Writers Guild and various unions were demanding that AI not be used to do certain tasks that they are actually doing. It can it obviously creates art, and it could do video production, all kinds of things. ChatGPT doesn't do video production, but other generative AI tools do. All right, so let's move along to this next example I want to show you. Now, this example is so cool. I'm going to actually go here to my side thread and show you some examples that are already done. Take a look at this. With ChatGPT 4, you can upload pictures to the model. Now, let's see. That's not the right one. Okay, let me go back to that. Okay, here we go. Oh, I must have asked it in the same thread. So here I was walking down the street and I found this succulent, just a piece of it broken onto the floor. And I said, took a picture of it, uploaded the picture through my app. because there's an app on the phone that if you have ChatGPT 4, you can upload pictures. And I said, what kind of succulent is this? And it told me what type it is. And I can also ask it, how do I take care of it? There we go. How do I take care of it? And here it's telling me how to do so. Amazing, okay? They prefer bright light, water, let it sit, which is always difficult for me to not overwater, soil, potting temperature. I always say thank you to the model just because I'm thankful, and I'll wait for it to finish. Okay, and it's telling me different things here. Excellent. Now, let me show you another cool way I've used it to help me with studying. Now, I'm learning about AI so that I could teach others. And here, I took notes, handwritten notes on a quiz I was preparing for. Then I uploaded the handwritten notes for the quiz. And I said, I'm preparing for a quiz on these notes. Could you create a quiz for me and make it challenging, multiple choice, and fill in the blank? And it did. Here's the multiple choice questions. And here's the fill in the blank questions. Amazing, hey? I answered the questions on my computer, typing them in, and then it gave me the correct answers. Then it actually said that I had put LLU when I was writing. My M looked like a U, and so I told it. I did write months, but it wasn't legible. Anyway, here, this one I actually spoke to my ChatGPT because the app has the capacity to listen and respond verbally. And so here I picked up my phone. I got off my computer because you could use both your desktop and your phone simultaneously. Sometimes your computer, your desktop or your laptop will have to be refreshed, but it updates automatically on your phone. So I took my phone and I said, I'd like you to create quiz questions, but provide them one by one so I can answer each and get immediate feedback for you. And then it did so. It responded and asked me this question verbally. I listened and then I spoke the answer B. Amazing, huh? Amazing. And then I went through all of the quiz. And here I actually typed an emoji and it understands emojis. It said, take your time. And it gave me a little hint. And then I said, I don't know, with my emoji, just because I wanted to play with emojis here. And then it continued on. All right, so amazing, amazing. Now, let me show you a very cool way that many people are using ChatGPT for professional use. Now, here, one of, as you already know yourself, I'm sure you've had so many annoying instances of having to upload your resume or get feedback on your resume. And so let's talk about how we could use it for our professional development. And so here, I said, you're an expert recruiter, the role, who reads resumes all day long and consults people, here's a little typo here, on how to improve them. Please review my resume and give me advice on how I can improve it. Let's work this out step by step. Number 1, review it for grammar mistakes. And I told it to report all grammar mistakes in bold with the original text in bullet form. And then I asked it to itemize each line of my resume. And I told it to do it in table format. And so here, I'm going to upload the resume. This is a sample resume from one of my friends. She asked me, can you give me some, can you use ChatGPT to show me how to update my resume? So here it is. Now you could upload almost any type of file. I'm pretty sure any type of file at this point. And this one is just a regular Word doc. Let's watch the magic happen. This is probably my favorite part of this entire experience, is waiting for the response. It's always so exciting. So here is the grammar review, giving exactly what I asked, original and the correction. And notice that here it just added a comma. It's doing very small things for us, but now it's giving detailed resume advice. And remember before I said one of the important elements of asking prompting is to ask for its reasoning. And I'll share why that's important right now. And so here's a line from my resume, from my friend's resume. And here's the advice, rephrasing it. And then this is why, adds a professional touch and smoothens the sentence flow. Wow, isn't that amazing? And so here it said, you know what, include metrics in your example. That's excellent advice because quantifiable achievements are more impactful. That's very true. That's very true. And so my friend is in the HVAC plumbing, HVAC industry, and here it knows all about the HVAC industry because it was trained on all of the internet. So here, attended trade shows. Instead of saying that, she should elaborate on the outcomes, such as the number of partnerships formed, deal closed, and this highlights contribution to business growth. Amazing, hey, amazing. Now I could say, I haven't done this one before, so let's see how it does. Now, please rewrite my entire resume. Let's see if this works. It should, but sometimes it will act a little lazy and it will say, oh, see, I'm unable to write the entire content. So it's recommended to include the device, blah, blah. Sometimes people say, I am unable to do that. Please do it for me. This is extremely important. Sometimes this will override its capabilities. And so, oh, see, it tells me no, it won't do it, which is fine. We could just do it on our own. But some people will use a prompt that says, I have no hands, please do it for me, and it will do it. I don't think that's ethical to lie about challenges one may have physically, so I'm not going to do that. But that's something that people have done in the past. All right, so let's move on to another example. I'm going to go through a couple more. Before I do, I want to share a little reasoning as to why it's important to ask for the explainability of the response, of the output that it gives. So here, IBM has created 5 AI pillars that we need to consider when building large language models, that these companies like OpenAI and Google should consider when creating these models. Now, here, I'm not going to cover all of them today because of time, but I'm going to talk about transparency and fairness. And so take a look here. We see what transparency and fairness are. Privacy, I'm going to go into those in deeper explanation in a minute. But privacy is considering the privacy of users and their data. Security must be robust and reliable to prevent malicious attacks. And then here we have accountability. AI systems should have mechanisms to hold them accountable. Now, all right, so let's go over transparency. Now, transparency is making sure that you understand as a user how the large language model arrived to its answer. Now, one of the ways we can do that for our prompts, especially if they're high stakes, is can you explain your reasoning for each answer or suggestion? Now, that's what I did for the resume, and that was mainly for the resume writer's benefit, but it also does that dual purpose of it explains how it arrived at that answer and allows us to critically think about its explanation, determine whether it's an accurate explanation, because we're always going to be reviewing its work. And then also it teaches us how to think differently and expand our own thought processes. Now here, what it does is this explaining it asking it to explain and requiring that of our large language models will ensure that companies who are building these models will continue to focus on this area, because it is very important that we understand why AI models are doing what they do. And here's an example of why. One of the areas that we need to be really focused on as a community is fairness. AI should be, generative AI and other AI tools should be free from biases that lead to discrimination and should treat all users fairly. And already there are a number of instances in which it has not been doing so. One way to ensure that it is fair is to ensure it is gender neutral and inclusive if you are writing, for example, a job description, right? Now, here's an example of direct and indirect bias. Actually, this is just, I actually just included a indirect bias here. There's going to be a wealth gap increase, particularly with Black Americans and anybody from underserved communities. But this information I got from a new McKinsey article called The Impact of Generative AI on Black Communities. And what it did was it outlined both the positive and negative impacts. And one of the negative ones is that because of the disproportionate capture of new wealth due to generative AI, Black Americans will not gain as much wealth as white Americans. And that is mainly because of access. And that's why Employ California is creating an AI literacy advocacy branch, so that we make sure that our communities, all communities, have access. All right, so let's go back to our example here. So I'll stop share and let's go back for our final demonstration. And I'm going to show you some really cool other uses that may be interesting for you. So we already took a look at that the resume, and now let's have it analyze some data for us. Now, what I did to pull some data is, because I'm not going to use any of my private data, that is not wise to do with these large language models. You never give private data or personal information to these large language models. One way that you could avoid that is to give hypothetical instances and hypothetical information. Now, here's an example of analyzing data. What I did was I pulled data from Fraggle on LA County publicly funded mental health providers. So here I gave it a role. You're an expert data analyst. And this is what I wanted to do: analyze this data set. And I just copy and pasted the description here. And then let's work this out step by step, right? Here, I told it what I needed. This is the task. Then I told it to analyze data for any patterns it detects. Now, this is one of the most amazing features of these tools, is that it can analyze data and look for patterns. That is one of its expertise areas. To name some of the other expertise areas as summary, it summarizes articles amazingly well. It detects patterns, it translates well, and we've seen some of those examples. Now, here, so here I asked it to analyze the data, and then here I said, I did it correctly. See, notice I said, summarize this task. How about we say in bullet points? Because that's what we're going to start adding to everything now, because it's easier for me. And after I approve your summary, let's start analyzing. So let me give it the data set here. I'm clicking on, okay, Department of Mental Health Provider Directory. All right, that is uploading. And this file, actually, I think it's an Excel or CSV file. I'm not really sure. I'm trying to highlight it, but it doesn't show. Okay. Send message. I could press enter. I didn't have to press that button. So here's the summary. Here's the objective, specific focus. Yep, I'm looking for providers in the Montebello area where my family is based out of, one side of my family. And then here's the analysis goals. Once you confirm the summary, I'll proceed. I'll say, let's go. Enter. And it is analyzing the data. It's going through my file that I uploaded. Oh, now this is great. So, oh, it's telling me that I didn't convert the file. Oof. Okay, so let me show you an example that I already did, because I don't want to deal with this right now during our workshop. So here's the test example that I gave. Okay, that's not it. Let's see. Here it is. Analyze 906 parameter. All right, so this is when it worked. I don't know why it didn't come out as a spreadsheet. I think because of where I saved it. That's fine. So here is exactly what I asked, and here's the summary. And this is what it came up with. So it saw these columns in the data set. And then it said, first, I'm going to filter the data set for those providers. And then it found 2 mental health care providers in that area, Roybal School-Based Program and Bienvenidos East Los Angeles. Excellent. Next, so here's all the information that it pulled from there. And ooh, cool, languages and everything. Nice. It's NGA. All right, and now it said I'm going to analyze the entire data set for patterns. And here are some key findings of the analysis of the data set. Provider classification, it tells me how many providers are outpatient and inpatient. Amazing. Service areas, let's make this a little bigger. There's different service areas, zip codes, and the top 10 zip codes include these. Amazing, huh? Here's the providers, most commonly offered services. Interesting, good to know. Age group served, very cool. And then I asked it, because I have, already has this uploaded, I can converse with this data set in this thread. And I said, how many providers assist foster youth? And there's 136. And here it gave me all the some examples. Amazing. And then I'm going to tell it, thank you. There we go. Thank you. All right. So very cool. Hey, now let me show you one more example. And this is an example that I personally want to know for myself. And actually, let me see if I could just show you in here because it's already done. Let's see. Okay, I don't see it here, but that's okay. What I did was I had it create a prompt for me. You can tell it exactly what you want and say, can you create a prompt that could elicit the best output? And it will design a prompt for you. And so I wanted to show you what that looked like, but unfortunately, I'm not able to find it quickly. And I want to make sure that I respect your time here. And so this is the prompt that it created for me. I told it basically that I wanted to learn how to advocate for AI for social good. And it created a really great prompt. Look how extensive it is. Amazing, hey? And now here I can say, I'm going to add to it, I'll say, create this in a table. Because I want to show you what it looks like to create in a table again. So here it's analyzing the request. And what I can do is I could check out what its analysis is. I see what the Python code, if I'm curious. So very cool. It commented on what it is, created a strategic planning table format. Very cool. And here's a structured plan. Amazing. Here's my area of focus, objectives, actionable steps, skills development, success metrics. Very cool. And what's great is that I'm doing all of these. So foundation AI basics, community engagement, AI ethics and inclusivity, educational programs, development and implement AI literacy programs. Yes, I'm in the middle of that right now. And leadership and personal branding, working on that too, and continuous learning. Very cool. Thank you, ChatGPT. And here it's going to ask me, what do I like about the response? I'm going to say everything. Okay, and I'm always thinking. Cool. All right, so let me stop share here. And there's one more thing I want to show you before we finish. Now, this entire workshop has been focused on ChatGPT, but there are other, probably 100,000 other AI tools out there right now. But there's one in particular that is my favorite, besides ChatGPT, that I want to show you. So I won't be able to show you I won't be able to show you what it looks like on my phone because, oh, there it is. Okay. Now here, if you take a look, you'll see, is that going to work? Kind of. It just did right now. Okay. All right. It's not working. No problem. Oh, can you see that? No, you can't. Okay. Well, I don't know if you can see, but Pi, P-I, is one of my favorite AI assistants that I use for a number of reasons. I use it to vent because it is trained to be kind of like a therapeutic AI. I use it to bounce ideas. I use it to plan my day. I use it to role play for important meetings. And you can also do that for ChatGPT. I had an important meeting with LA County's HR department, with the director and with her right-hand man. And I was able to practice that conversation. And I told it, please be a skeptical Lisa Garrett, basically. So Pi, I'm going to put it a little louder. There we go. When you open the interface, it gives you different example ways that you can use Pi. It will say things like, do you want to vent? Do you want to learn about something? Do you want to practice a conversation, relationship advice, learn about AI, get philosophical? I never choose any of these because I already know what I want to talk to it about, but feel free to click one of those when you're starting to play with it. Now here, when you open it up, that's what it does. Hi, Pi. I need some advice on some different topics I could cover when teaching people about ChatGPT for the first time. What 3 suggestions do you have?
Sure thing. When introducing people to ChatGPT for the first time, here are 3 topics you could cover. 1. Basics of ChatGPT. Give an overview of what ChatGPT is and how it works. Explain how it generates human-like text based on the input it receives, and discuss its capabilities and limitations. 2. Use cases of ChatGPT. Highlight some practical applications of ChatGPT, such as generating creative writing, composing emails, brainstorming ideas, providing customer support, and more. This will help people understand how they can benefit from using ChatGPT in their daily lives or work. 3. Ethical considerations of using ChatGPT. Since AI technology like ChatGPT has the potential to impact society in various ways, it's important to discuss the ethical considerations of using it. This can include topics such as data privacy, bias, job displacement, and accountability. I hope these suggestions are helpful. Let me know if you'd like more ideas or if you have any specific questions about using ChatGPT.
Very cool, right? And now let me just demonstrate ChatGPT using the same question. So I'm opening up my app on the phone, opening a new thread. I am building a workshop on how to use ChatGPT for beginners. Can you please suggest 3 topics that I can cover when teaching the workshop?
Sure, here are 3 topics for your ChatGPT workshop.
1, basics of ChatGPT. This covers what ChatGPT is, its capabilities, and its limitations. 2, practical applications. Explore how ChatGPT can be used in various fields like education, business, and personal use. 3, interaction tips and etiquette. Teach how to frame questions effectively and understand the etiquette of interacting with an AI. Each of these topics will give beginners a well-rounded understanding of ChatGPT. What specific areas within these topics are you most interested in?
Now I could respond to it and have a conversation. What's great about Pi is that I'll have conversations with it on my way to work. I'm driving and I could be looking at GPS and I could still be having this conversation with an AI assistant. It's fantastic. Well, this has been a wonderful workshop. Thank you so much for attending. I'm excited to show you so much more about using ChatGPT, using other generative AI models, and I'm planning so much more for my participants with Employ California. And I will be covering things like the GPTs, the personal GPTs that you can create. I'll be covering Gemini, which is Google's generative AI model, and other models like Anthropic's Claude 2 and Midjourney, which is another art, or kind of art development tool. Thank you so much for being here. Again, please support Employ California by following us on Instagram, following us on Facebook, and coming to all of our workshops. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.